My Scientology Movie, which is the new film by Louis. You say Theroux, I say.
I think he's Theroux, and
Let's call
Americans
the whole
maybe
thing
more Theroux.
So, and this is a complicated one. There was a film a couple of years ago by Alex Gibney called Going Clear, which was an expose of Scientology, and did a really pretty thorough job of looking at what the Church of Scientology was up to, argued that it was something which had been, that started off as a sort of sci-fi born self-help thing that then mutated into a religion, as far as that documentary was concerned, entirely for tax purposes, that was basing itself offshore entirely for tax purposes. And the documentary had a very sort of forensic look at the way in which Scientology existed as an organization. And I have to say, although obviously I understand the Church of Scientology themselves weren't fond of the documentary, I found it very convincing, and I found its arguments to be sober and to be sensible. We've also seen, I mean, as a movie critic, I've seen Scientology represented on screen in many different ways. There was the film The Master by Paul Thomas Anderson, with a fantastic performance by Philip Seymour Hoffman, which obviously took as its inspirational story, the inspiration behind it, as opposed to inspirational story, pardon me, the story of L. Ron Hubbard. And frankly, if you are a movie critic and you see loads of movies about Scientology, very few of them come out in favour of the Church of Scientology. Many of them suggest that it is a very worrying institution. And I'm not sure that if you're going to make a movie about Scientology, you have to have a clear line about what you're doing, I think. So in the case of Louis Theroux's film, what he's done is to decide to make his own film about Scientology. But right from the beginning, he is shackled by the fact that he can't get interviews, he can't get access. Because David Miscavige, for example, doesn't the leader of the Church of Scientology, doesn't do interviews, and they don't want to speak to him. So what he does is that he decides that he is going to, with the help of somebody who was in the Church of Scientology and is now outside of it and is now a critic of the Church of Scientology, he is going to restage events from this gentleman's experience of being in Scientology, including getting somebody in to play David Miscavige in a sort of dramatic reconstruction. Louis Theroux says that one of the things that enabled him to do this was the example of the act of killing, although I think that is a very, very different documentary in which the use of theatrical performance was at a completely different reason. There is also, because there is a limited amount of interest in seeing people reenacting things, they also do the usual stuff, such as turning up outside the camp where Scientology is based and being told that they have to stop filming. Here's a clip.
One is from England. I know he's a BBC reporter. I have no idea his name.
Louis.
Louis?
Louis.
Okay, the road's closed, you're trespassing, and you need to leave.
Apparently, it's a public road.
No, it isn't.
And we have
no, you don't.
But can I just show you the permit?
No, it isn't. It isn't a public road.
Look,
it's
Catherine,
trespassing.
Catherine.
Look,
Whoa,
you're
whoa,
not
whoa,
that
whoa,
stupid.
whoa, you're assaulting
you see
me.
that thing? It says road closed.
Look.
No, look.
Look.
Come here. Come here.
Let me show you.
No, come on. What's your
please.
name? Louis?
Louis.
Louis. Look. Are you so stupid you cannot see the sign that says road closed?
But look,
Is there anything about that you don't understand? Closed?
Well, look, I've got a permit.
Do you know what
with
a
the name
road means? It's closed.
We don't want to create any issue for you.
And I don't want him filming me, so tell him to stop.
Well, you're filming us.
Tell him to stop.
What, you tell him to stop?
Tell him to stop.
You tell him to stop and I'll tell him to stop. How about that?
Stop.
Tell him to stop.
Louis, you need to leave.
Catherine, we don't need to leave.
You kind of get the sense of what that stuff is like. So
he's not getting anywhere.
He's not getting, no. And my problem actually is I think that the documentary itself has a similar thing about not getting anywhere. My feeling is that if you're going to do this stuff, you have to do it with rigor. You have to do it. The kind of bumbling, slightly faux naive shtick thing doesn't really work with this subject matter. You have to go in with clinical precision. It's very hard to add much to Alex Gibney's documentary because that was such an extraordinary piece of work and was so utterly damning. And I thought did an absolutely brilliant job. It was gripping. I went to see it with my daughter, who was just horrified. I mean, literally horrified and outraged by it. And I thought that was a really powerful piece of work. worked. In the case of this, all the stuff which is the kind of the news footage, the stuff about Tom Cruise, that sort of stuff, is stuff that we've seen before in Gibney's documentary. At one point, when they're doing the reenactment stuff, they get an actor to pretend to be Tom Cruise, but then they don't really know what to do with him. And for me, all the stuff that was the restagings just felt like a gimmick, sort of padding that didn't work very well. Of course, what then happened is that the Scientologists, as they do, have responded by sending people out to, to film Louis Theroux's lot. And they respond in a way which seems to be completely disproportionate and incredibly aggressive. And actually, weirdly enough, them responding to the fact that he's making a film is the thing that it comes across as the most damning footage in the film. That it's this kind of weird sort of self-incriminating thing that even when somebody's making a film which is pretty sort of, scattershot and doesn't really get to the heart of its subject, they give it a heart by turning up with cameras on their heads, and you heard that clip there. So my feeling is that this doesn't add to the body of knowledge that we have about Scientology. It certainly won't change anybody's opinion about it. I think that the Scientologists come out of it. I think the way in which they respond to it is damning enough. And, obviously for ease of balance, just let me say that I am completely in line with Alex Gibney's line on Scientology. I think this needed to be more focused. I don't think you can take this approach with this subject, but it's okay because the Scientologists turned up and did the usual thing anyway, which, in a way, there's something poetic about that.